Well, I'm really excited for this episode of Redeemer Radio. We've decided to call it Redeemer Radio, by the way, unless you come up with a better title. But we get the opportunity to sit down with people who make this church what it is, make this church special. And today I am honored to sit down with Ann Blemker. And Ann, you have been, well, I'll just ask you, how long have you been a member of Church of the Redeemer?
70 years.
70 years.
Yes.
Wow. So you've been here since you were very, very young.
Yes.
Baby?
Baby,
Goodness.
baptized, confirmed,
Baptized and confirmed
and
here?
confirmed.
Were you married here?
Yes, married too.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So there are very few people who have been here as long as you have. I know Carol Hesser and you grew up together, right?
That's right.
And we're at this church together.
Right.
But she bailed at some
She
point before
bailed.
she came back.
Yep.
So
She married a
you
Methodist,
stuck
so
with it.
I
You
stuck.
stayed here. I like that. And I know Betsy Berry's been here for a
Yep.
while, and Alan Mansler. I think you all might be. Who else am I forgetting? Is there anyone that else that's?
Well, Krug's pretty long.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah, yeah.
That's true.
But no, I can't
So
believe that I'm one of the elder
it's
people
what you get for
now.
sticking around.
That's what I get.
You
That's
know.
what I get. Yeah.
Well, and it is, people come and go at churches, but then there's that kind of that core group of people for whom it's been a part of their life, their
Yeah.
whole lives. And that's always really beautiful to see. Not the least of which is because, you've seen the church change.
I've seen the good and the bad
Yeah,
and the ugly.
you have seen all of those things. If you stick around anywhere long enough, you'll see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Correct.
Who was the priest when you were first here?
Dr. Long.
So the founding priest of the church,
Yeah.
the founding
Yeah.
rector.
Yeah. But I was so little that I don't really remember him.
Yeah. But he's
I-
probably the one who baptized you.
no,
Oh.
I was baptized when I was 8.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a younger brother that was born 8 years after my sister and me. So we all 3 got
Oh,
baptized
wow.
together.
All
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
so was that Bish
Bish
Cheryl?
Cheryl.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you were here through all that time.
Yeah.
And so you have seen a lot of change, and as you said, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
But I'm curious, for someone who has known this church, and it's natural for us to say, well, what's changed? What do you think has stayed the same? Like when you think about Redeemer as you were growing up, and when you think about it as you were getting married and being a young lady, and as you've been here throughout your life, do you see something that kind of
Hmm.
has been fundamentally Redeemer the whole time?
Well, I think it would be the service itself,
Yeah,
the Sunday service.
yeah.
The biggest change has been the banquet. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was like, what? When it first started.
Yeah.
Um,
And you come to the banquet sometimes.
I do.
Yeah.
I enjoy both. Some
Yeah.
people are diehard sanctuary with that liturgy, which I love.
Yeah.
But there are times when the banquet does it for me. It's uplifting. I love the music in
Yeah.
there. So I like both of them.
Yeah.
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 But I think it's the service has maintained all through the years, no
And
matter
that
what.
being sort of the centerpiece of how people come together and come to
Yes.
know each
Yeah.
other is that Sunday reality,
Yeah.
right? Um, and when would have been maybe in your mind the period of biggest change?
That's a tough one.
I mean, I know that. Would it have been the sort of the transition from Al Vale to Jim Hanissian?
Yeah, I think probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was just a tough period
Yeah.
with Alvale, and yet um, I hung in, and um,
So a
the
lot of your friends and people
left.
left the church.
A lot of people left.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was because of my father, who was on the vestry, senior warden
Mhm.
during that period, who said, hang on.
Yeah.
You've got to hang in here. And I said, Dad, this is hard.
Yeah. Can
Because,
Are you able to say why it was hard for
yeah,
you?
um, Al was, he felt that if people didn't understand his sermons, that was their problem.
Ah,
And he was very bright, but when he gave a sermon, there you couldn't relate it to today
yeah.
and your own life. It was very intellectual. Um, it was spiritual
Mm.
in some ways, but it was very difficult. And yet, I can tell you, as a person, he was a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
He really was. My mother died suddenly, and I was in Chicago, and he met me at the airport with my father.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you don't forget stuff like that
No.
at all.
No.
So,
And for all the things we hear about that being a difficult time and
yes,
people leaving, there were
yes,
clearly people that were really
loyal.
loyal to him and loyal to, and were moved by him and felt
That's right.
connected to him. And that I always find that interesting because coming to this church, that there was this rector back in the 70s who was
Yeah,
controversial,
right,
and 40
right,
years later we're still talking about it, and how the person who followed him and the group that followed him, how they worked their way through that and kind of rebuilt the life of this church. But you forget that he was just a person
that's right,
who was trying to figure out how to be
right,
in a church and run a church and do the work,
right,
and
right,
that when you get past the sort of pro or anti, there's a guy who's there with your dad at the
right.
airport.
Yeah, bottom line.
Isn't that
Yeah,
isn't that true?
yeah.
I think that's really wonderful.
But I think when Jim came, first of all, he attracted a different, he was young,
Mhm.
and every other rector had been older. And
Yeah.
um, so Jim naturally was going to attract more young people.
Yeah.
And that changed the makeup of this church greatly
Sure. It makes
for the
sense.
better. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, what will we you gotta
really
always
for the
be
better.
thinking, and
Yeah,
that's the tricky thing, right?
yeah,
Because you always wanna be thinking about how to bring new people into the
right,
life of the church, but you never wanna do that at the expense of the people who are already here.
right.
And it seems like one thing I can learn from him is how to balance that. Because it seems like he did bring a new group of people in, but not in a way that was disrespectful to the people who had
No,
been a part of
not at
life in
all.
this church.
Not at all.
That's really
Yeah.
important. So you were married here. Who
Hmm.
did the wedding?
Alvale.
Alvale did the wedding.
Hmm.
And was there anyone at that wedding that's here at the church?
Well,
Was
Carol,
Carol was there?
Joyce,
Yeah. Oh,
they were
Joyce
both
Keeshan was there?
in my wedding.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, Joyce and Carol and I were on
Yeah.
the same class.
That's right.
So, yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
At Walnut Hills?
No, Seven Hills.
Seven
That's
Hills.
now
Okay.
Seven Hills.
That's
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah.
I think I knew that at some point. That's wonderful. So, um, and tell me, what ministries are you involved with right
IHN, I still will do meals when they're
now? Yep.
here. Home Comforts
Yeah.
is my big one
That's the
now.
thing you're most involved with.
Yeah,
And what do you
yeah.
do with Home Comforts right now?
Make deliveries of
Okay.
stuff, and it's up and down.
Yeah.
It can be a good experience, it can be a marginal experience.
So can you, for those, most of the people listening will know, but can you describe a little bit about what Home Comforts
Yeah.
is?
Home Comforts provides goods like kitchenware, bathroomware, linens for families that were in IHN and now have housing. But when they come to finally get housing, they have nothing
Right.
except the clothes on their back for the most part. So they need furniture, they need everything. And so we team up with New Life, which provides furniture, and then we bring everything else. So it's a wonderful ministry, and most of the families are just so grateful
Yeah.
and feel so blessed to be given all this stuff. So,
And what's it like for you to be able to do it?
oh, I enjoy it
Yeah.
because you get really, I think, as much as the people that you're giving to. It,
Yeah. When did you do you have a moment or a story that of when you realized that it was an important
well, I was previously in my work life was a social worker,
oh wow,
so
okay.
I've seen a lot of downtrodden people with
Hmm.
nothing, and
Yeah.
so it kind of is a natural fit for me to be involved with something like
Yeah.
home comforts. So, but the last delivery that we made was wonderful. The three kids, it they had it was a couple, which is highly unusual.
Hmm.
Usually, it's single mom,
Yeah.
and they were they had been in their house for a week and had nothing. Home there was a glitch, so they had no furniture
Oh
until
my.
the day before we got there, and they had a baby. So the baby was sleeping in
Oh
the car seat,
yeah.
and they were just so appreciative. She cried, um, and he was also very grateful. Helped us because that's one of the issues. You're lugging a lot of stuff
Sure.
up steps almost always. So it's always wonderful when somebody comes with
When
a strong back
right, that's
to
not a bad
help you.
thing at all.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah,
That's
so
fantastic. So you've been involved in IHN, you're involved in Home Comforts. You've been coming to this Bible study where I'm interviewing Ann right now today, right after our Thursday morning Bible study. And that is, though we generally think about ministries as things that you come and volunteer for, there are also things that you're just a part of in the
right.
life of the church. And you've been coming to this Bible study now for how long, do you know?
Jim Nishin started it, and I was there the first week. So
So
it's
you've been
been,
coming to this Bible study since the beginning?
yes, since the beginning.
Yeah.
I actually worked my job around Bible study. So
Mhm.
I could come every Thursday to Bible study.
And I'm
So it's been at least 40 years,
wow.
at least.
And I'm telling you, it is one of the most powerful ministries of this
I
church
know. I know.
because the consistency of the people who come and how tight everyone feels together, and it's we joke because for the first 15 minutes or so everyone's just kind of chatting,
Right.
but it's where so much of the life of the church happens
Yeah.
and where people
Yeah.
get to see each other and connect. It is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing joy to be a part of it,
It
right?
is. It
And that,
is.
and every once in a while we learn one or two things,
Right.
even about the
Right.
Bible, so it works out really well.
Well, I have a question for you. Were
Oh,
you
uh-oh.
were you told you had to do Bible study?
Well, so
I
that's
know
it.
Bruce
So
was told.
so I was, um, but I wouldn't have had it any other way,
Yeah.
right? So if
Yeah.
if I had been interviewing with this church and they said, "Well, we're not much for Bible study," I'm not sure that I would have been the right person for the
Hmm.
job. So Bible study has always been a really important part of my life, and was easily one of the highlights of my work at my last church. And so what was fascinating to me at my last church was we when I came to it, um, I sort of just on the spot decided, oh, we're going to do Bible study like this. I'm not going to hand out pamphlets. I'm not going to hand out worksheets or homework. Well, there are
Right.
some,
Oh, I know.
the priest that had preceded me would come in and give handouts, long sheets, and you can do this worksheets, and I maybe for some people that really works. You know me now well enough to know that that's not my style. I wouldn't even know where to find the
It's not our
worksheets.
style
No.
either.
So
Yeah.
what I did was I just said we're going to have a discussion based Bible study. So when they were interviewing with me and they said not only well, remember Kathy Krug was one of the people interviewing me.
No homework.
That's right.
No
But
homework.
she said, not only are you expected to lead a Bible study, but this is how we do it.
Okay,
And
lovely.
and I said, well, that's it. Well, I said, well, let me tell you how I do Bible study, and it was almost exactly the same.
Perfect.
So it's been a really good fit in that sense, and to be part of a church where people care about Bible study.
Yeah.
And then we have our downtown Bible study on Wednesdays at noon, and that's a smaller group, but always really exciting. And we look at whatever the readings are going to be for the Sunday. and that's always good for helping me figure out what I'm going to preach on.
That's right. Yeah,
So I
for sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, what and are there other ministries that have been really
Yes.
deeply involved with?
Altar Guild. I
Yeah,
did Altar Guild for years
yeah.
and was head of the Altar Guild for whatever the term
Oh,
is.
that's right. I've seen your name on the plaque. I
That's
know that to be
correct. My
true.
Bible was given to me
Oh,
from,
wow.
being director.
Yeah.
So, did that. Was on the vestry. Um, what else?
You've done kind of most of the things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What is Redeemer? How would you describe, if you can, what this church has been for you and your family in your life?
Well, it's been my extended family, and I don't know what I would do without this family.
Yeah,
And you do find out in, down times, when things are not going well or there's a crisis of some kind, you do find out what it means. And
and you had that happen with you
I,
with your granddaughter,
yeah,
right?
with the brain surgery when my mother died. Let's see, what else? Has there been anything else? Nothing, major, major. But oh, yeah, my sister was raped,
Mm,
and that was extremely difficult because
yeah, of
you wrestle inside yourself about,
course.
forgive,
Right.
um, forgive, forget. So I came for counseling
Yeah.
after that because I said, how do I justify this?
Yes.
I need help
Yeah.
with this. So,
So the church has been there for you in a lot of the
absolutely.
dark times,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it sounds also like some of the joyous times. I
Oh,
mean, obviously your wedding
oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
your children were baptized here,
Oh,
and
yeah. And, lots of fun times. Long time ago, we did a rummage sale. I don't know whether you've heard about that. I mean,
yes, I have, but
those
I'd
were
love to hear more about it.
days of old, but Janice and I were co-chair one year, and that was in Janice's healthier days,
Yeah.
and we had a blast. It was a lot of work because it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was the whole Undercroft, the old Undercroft, and filled with clothes, shoes, everything, and the public, the outside public,
Everyone.
loved it,
Oh, good.
loved it, and
Did you do it once, or was it you did it
oh,
several
every year,
for
once a
many
year,
years?
yeah,
Okay.
many years, many
Wow.
years. But at that point, most women were not working; they
Right.
were stay at home,
Right.
so it was a different time and different place.
Yeah.
And, it died when all of a sudden there were no women that were
Right.
available.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got must have changed the church in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
It did. It
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that was one of the best memories I have.
I bet.
It's
I
just,
bet.
yeah, it was. It was.
When you think about how Redeemer is now, and you think, as we said, about having seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, having seen changes, having certain things seen certain things sort of be consistent, um, where do you want to see this church go? What do you want to see happen uh, for the rest of your life, and then after you're gone? What would you like to be true for Redeemer, or where would you like to see it
Well, I
go?
would like to see the continuation of younger people coming in
Yeah.
to keep it going. I mean, because realistically, a lot of us have been here for a long time, but you can't just depend on us for,
Right.
the different volunteer opportunities, for the stewardship, everything.
Right.
So we've got to continue to get young blood in here. And that's why I think you're good because you're young.
That's
And
I
again,
it's I'm young for a priest.
you're young for a
When I watched
priest.
the World Series last night, I was older than anyone on the field, but I'm young for a priest, so
You're
that's good.
young for a
Yeah.
priest, yeah. So, I think that's one of
Yeah.
the key things
Yeah.
that
And
has
and
got to
and
happen.
and then not only when do we have to bring them in, but really I think how we make sure that people of your generation and people like you who've been here, um, making sure that we find ways that you can transfer your wisdom and your knowledge and understanding of this place and of who God is and has been for you. I think that's going to be a big part of it too. We'll get them in,
Yeah,
but then when we get them in, we want to make sure that we are able to both learn from the new people, but also teach them what this place has been for us. That's my hope.
yeah,
I'm hoping not only that they'll show up,
right.
but that they'll learn from Ann
They
Blemker.
that they have an investment
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that they all know who Ann Blemker is, and that you will be able to connect with some of these young families and
yeah,
people and know what because the things that you mentioned in sickness and dark times, what happened to your sister and your mother's death, and these things like that. There's not a person in this world who doesn't go through those things or know someone who has or
right,
experienced those kinds of
right.
things. And it feels like less and less people realize that there's a place for them where they can have that support.
That's right. Yeah,
And if we can help people know that this is one of those places, I think that could be huge.
yeah. Well, I only have wonderful things to say about that
Yeah,
piece. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
We'll have to keep that up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Most important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you got to tell the people who are listening?
No, except just we are totally blessed, I think, at this place. That through the dark times, through the good times, there is always hope. Um, and God is present and with us in all those times.
Thank you so much, Ann. It
Yeah.
is a pleasure and an honor to talk with you, and I'm grateful for you being able to come in today.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.